Biden's performance in the June 27th Trump debates was not as bad as some people were saying. It was worse. Hello, everyone. I am Dr. Chris Martinson. We got to talk about this. Biden goes down. Biden goes down. We got to talk about this. And by the way, I think we can do this whole thing in about 17 seconds. Let's listen in.
And I'm going to continue to move until we get the total ban on the total initiative relative to what we're going to do with more Border Patrol and more asylum officers.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either.
Ooh, that's it. It's over. The whole thing is just, that's it. It's pretty bad, folks. And so we got to talk about this, but not just about Biden's performance. Obviously, it's been clear to anybody who's been watching or anybody who follows the news on Twitter. You've known this for a long time. If you've been following regime media, maybe you haven't known, but Biden's been in obvious mental decline for quite a long time. I suggest since the election in 2020, it's been that obvious. So instant, immediate reaction polls, right in these are sort of an online way of betting, who's going to win. And it was instantaneous. You see here the probability of Trump winning the election skyrocketing and Biden declining literally the minute, just a few minutes after Biden started speaking. I mean, it was that quick, that clear, because it's totally obvious now. I don't know why it wasn't obvious before with him mumbling and falling and not able to figure out where he was headed in conversations or on the stage. Those things sort of all been completely obvious to anybody with a functioning brain. And that all led to this rather brutal Trump campaign ad here. Let's just listen in real quick.
Both, however, making sure that we're able to make every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the COVID. With dealing with everything we have to do with, look, if we finally beat Medicare, we're trying to provide housing for Black Americans.
We finally beat Medicare. I mean, these are just clips, literally just clips from the debate, which was last night, because I'm recording this the day after, but that would have been June 27th in 2024. And this is just brutal. It just goes on and ends with a Trump for president thing. I don't need to show you the whole thing. Now, what's interesting about this is even the hardest core of Biden fanboys, which of course you will find in your regime media, where they are just running interference all the time. Here would be one example. They had to admit it, too, that something was a little off.
One of the things was, would either candidate look like the caricature that the other campaign has been trying to paint of him? And at the end of the day, Joe Biden looks like the caricature that conservative media has been painting. And there were no clips tonight, right? You saw it before your eyes. Look, I don't want to just tell you what I think here, Tom. I've been talking to a lot of leaders in the Democratic Party, electeds, coalition leaders. There's a full-on panic about this performance. Not like, oh, this is recoverable. It is more of he's got to step aside. There's a lot of that chatter. This is about as bad of a performance in order to that Biden could have delivered if his goal was to try to sort of calm the waters among Democrats. I mean, look, there was
it's just so it's a little inconceivable to me that they went from, gee, everything's fine to, oh no, this guy can't manage like even a simple debate. You don't just come on. We've all known this for a very long time. It's been very obvious. What now? Finally, the child shouts, the emperor has no clothes. And now, Chuck, everybody can finally begin to admit something that we've all known, unless we were just absolutely brain damaged adults. It's pretty obvious he's been in decline for a long time, and the decline has been getting very precipitous. But now they're in a panic all of a sudden because they finally noticed. Get out of here. They didn't just finally notice, folks. This has been known about for a long time, and this looks like how they plan to do the transition. If you notice, it's kind of weird. there really isn't time for the Democrats or the DNC to run primaries anymore. So you can't let the people decide. Trust me, they'll select somebody, and that's what they call our democracy. It's pretty bad. And so, well, let's just keep looking at this because this is pretty crazy. Now, right after the debate, I mean, it was completely obvious what happened. 33% of people still said Biden won the debate. Not even like who would you rather have for president, but they said, in their estimation, Biden won the debate. Now, anybody who voted yes to that Biden won, I think that they should be excluded from anything that requires responsibility. I mean, these people shouldn't drive cars. We should take their licenses away. They probably shouldn't have children. They definitely shouldn't be flying planes or operating heavy machinery, and they definitely shouldn't be prescribing drugs. Okay, whoever these people are. So I mean, it's completely obvious that anybody who's still clinging to the idea that somehow Biden is a reasonable candidate and that he won the debate, I turned off that Trump ad. It is an embarrassing soliloquy of slurs by the president. It's not even remotely debatable. Now, this falls under the slowly then all at once moniker, right? Child yells out, the emperor has no clothes. This is the common knowledge game. The common knowledge game is when everybody knows that it's okay now to notice and dump on Biden for being not up to the task because he actually has advanced dementia. All right, so you see MSNBC babbling and hoarse. Liberals panic about Biden's decline. A disaster so far, says USA Today. Deep panic, says Newsweek, among Democrats after Biden's debate performance. On and on and on. So slowly, then all at once. Okay, well, now we know the emperor has no clothes. So now it's common knowledge. This is how the common knowledge game works. Glad it finally came about. But here's one of those people who might have voted in the 33%, Maria Shriver here, who has 2.1 million followers and media personality and connected to the Kennedy family. She says, quote, I love Joe Biden. I know he's a good man. We have different definitions of good men, Maria, you and I. Absolutely. Very, very different. I know his heart is good. Really? You know somebody else's heart? Really? Interesting. I know he's dedicated to our country and is surrounded by good people. Would those be, Maria, would those be the good people that are rapidly destroying the country and couldn't secure the border and shipped all my tax money over to Ukraine and have created some of the worst inflation in our memory? At any rate, tonight was heartbreaking in many ways. She writes, this is a big political moment. There's panic in the Democratic Party. That's heartbreaking. Oh, no, it's going to be a long night. Oh, right. So this is one of the people who's, listen, Maria, if you haven't noticed by now that pretty much none of the things you said up top are true, except maybe that you love Joe Biden. I'll grant you that one. But the rest of that, really, the facts and the data don't support that. Now, I don't want to have to do this, but I'm going to have to break out the old data paddle. Let's go with the data here real quick and see what he's actually been up to. And it's really not a good look. All right. So here, Jacques Henrich said, very well-connected Democratic source tells me the House and Senate are the GOP's. For now, everyone is freaking out. Biden needs to go, but no way they replace him unless he agrees. Apparently, the sitting president has to agree to it, to which Ron Coleman said, why don't they just tell him he agreed? I think that won the internet last night for me. But now the New York Times no longer exists to report the news, but to signal to its base when it's acceptable to acknowledge a truth known long ago. Exactly right. That was Abigail Sherler that wrote that. Here, look at all these headlines. Look at this. New York Times finally sounds the alarm. President Biden is my friend. He must bow out of the race. Biden cannot go on like this. I'm hearing high anxiety from Democrats over Biden's debate performance. President Biden, it's time to drop out. This is a wall of regime media claptrap, right? And the regime media is danger to us all. They really are. They are leading us astray. They're failing at their jobs comprehensively and including themselves, but they seem to be unaware of how all this is going to play out. Now, this regime media, they're very cancerous to us all, to the country, to our future. I don't know if they know this. I can't figure out if they're just that mendacious or if they're that ignorant or stupid. I don't know what's going on, but this isn't that hard to track down, that the things that the media has been doing have been making the country worse off, including the country the media lives in, including for people on the average media salary, have been getting absolutely hosed by all the things that they have been covering up for. I don't understand it. It feels bizarre to me. At best, Stockholm Syndrome. At worst, they're just ignorant. Bill Ackman wrote, as much as last night was an indictment of the Democratic Party, and it was, for misleading party members and the country about the mental acuity and health of the president and misleading themselves, the media deserves far more derision and scorn. That is correct, Bill. I thank you for putting it that way. I and others were repeatedly criticized by the media for questioning the competency of the president. Among other false accusations, I was accused of spreading misleading videos, which clearly showed Biden's deterioration. Do you remember the heavily excerpted and edited POTUS Biden 60 Minutes interview where the interviewer covered for the president by saying he was very tired? 60 Minutes knew, the New York Times knew, CNN knew, MSNBC knew. Left-wing media have had total and complete access to the president, his staff, and his administration. They all knew, but they told you otherwise. They outright lied to you. End quote. They did. They lied to you, to me, everybody, maybe even themselves. That's what I can't figure out. Are the regime media? Hey, all you people in the media right now. Remember when I spoon-fed you? Look at the PRRA fur and cleavage site in this coronavirus thingy back in May of 2020. I've been spoon-feeding the media stuff for quite a while, and all the media now is happening at the edges. It's happening with non-professional journalists. It's happening with independent media. It's happening in podcasts. It's happening on Twitter, or now called X. It's happening at the edges. It's not happening at 60 Minutes, New York Times, CNN, MSNBC. Those are all now dangerous institutions that are either shot through completely with hive mind think, or they are actively and purposely leading us astray to help destroy the country. I don't know which is worse, but that's where the facts go at this point in time. Now, it really beggars belief. Nobody is really this stupid. I can't
right now,
think.
as we speak, there is a deep, a wide, and a very aggressive panic in the Democratic Party. It started minutes into the debate, and it continues right now. It involves party strategists. It involves elected officials. It involves fundraisers. And they're having conversations about the president's performance, which they think was dismal, which they think will hurt other people down the party in the ticket. And they're having conversations about what they should do about it. Some of those conversations include, should we go to the White House and ask the president to step aside? Other of the conversations are about, should prominent Democrats go public with that call? Because they feel this debate was so terrible. They do say in moments in the debate later, the president got better and got his footing, but then at the end, even his closing statement was a little halting. The contrast between the two candidates. Let me be clear. None of them, and a lot of Republicans, don't think Donald Trump had a great night. Donald Trump broke the fact-check machine more than I can count.
Wow. How is anybody, like they're trying to pretend like this just sort of occurred to them. Oh no, donors are concerned all of a sudden, and Democratic operatives are concerned now. Everybody just suddenly got concerned. This is people that, no. This is why rational, logical people like you and I, we get offended by this kind of stuff. Because it's like we have to pretend that it makes sense that they're shocked. I mean, in this moment, like this isn't a thing. I'm having trouble forming sentences because this is so outrageous. This is so outrageously, outlandishly in your face gaslighting, lying, and mendaciousness. These people are just absolutely horrid individuals to try and pretend like it's reasonable for us to suddenly be shocked by Biden's mental decline, which has been obvious for a few years now. And by the way, regime media, y'all were the ones with access to him. This should have been completely obvious. It should have been completely obvious when the Department of Justice said we can't charge Biden with anything because he doesn't have the mental fitness to understand the charges against him. How is that not like the shot across the bow? Well, there have been many shots across the bow. It's been obvious. It's been completely obvious. But the fact that you've pretended that it wasn't obvious, now that's the thing we have to concern ourselves with, because that is a very, very bad sign.
Right.
So look at this. Suddenly, CNN is suddenly finding a way to fact check
He
things.
said he's the only president in a while who didn't have any troops dying anywhere in the world. Troops have, of course, died on his watch. He said he's put in a $15 per shot cap on insulin and Medicare. It's a $35 a month cap. He said it's a $200 cap on overall drug spending in Medicare. It's $2,000 a year. He said the border now has fewer crossings than when Trump was in office. That's generally not true. He said, or at least strongly suggested, unemployment was at 15% when he took office. It was actually 6.4. He said Trump wants to get rid of Social Security. Trump doesn't. He said billionaires pay 8.2% in taxes. It's much higher. He said Trump told Americans to inject bleach amid COVID. We know Trump made foolish comments about scientists studying disinfectant injection, but didn't frame it as advice to people. And Biden said the Border Patrol endorsed him. No, its union supported the border bill he'd supported, never endorsed him himself.
Border Patrol endorsed Biden. That's what he said.
Some of them.
Let's look at that. Ooh, ouch. Border Patrol union immediately fact-checking, saying, to be clear, we never have and never will endorse Biden. And that was on June 27, 9:33 p.m. They did that right in the moment. Look at that, 410,000 likes. That's like, by any standard, that's a pretty hot reading right there. And by the way, CNN, you might want to fact check this. The Democrats, with several million followers, tweeted out right away afterwards. They said the winner of tonight's debate, showing a picture of Biden from, some other year, I guess, or some other time. Who knows? Right. At any rate, finally, we've gotten to this common knowledge stage where we can finally ask the obvious and burning question that I've never gotten a satisfactory answer to, which is, who is actually running the country? Again, Bill Ackman asking the right questions here. No one will call the question because the 25th Amendment says the next in line is the vice president. So we all know that, like, ixnay on the esque, because if we ask the question and Biden gets pulled out, if we have Kamala Harris step in, we are literally in the movie Idiocracy at that point in time, and nobody wants that. So I think, that's, I don't know. But beyond that, we know it's not even her if she stepped up. So who is running the country? Who's making the decisions? Who made the actual decision to target Russia's mainland and its over-the-horizon nuclear early detection radar systems with American missiles? Who made that decision? Because it wasn't Biden. We know that. We deserve to know who's making the decisions that are potentially dragging the country towards a nuclear war. I'd like to know, but apparently the people in charge don't think that we deserve to know. And by the way, all you journalists out there, I just want to remind you of something, that you are very, very actively supporting what is we could call socialist or communist or authoritarian or collectivist tendencies out there in the leadership structure. And maybe you actually support them on some authentic level. I just want to remind you that you're going to be on the left side of the wall, okay? On the left side, all the people that you are promoting, that you are running interference for, all of your articles and fluff pieces that try and make the ultra wealthy into somehow, you suck up to them. They're on the other side. They're on the right side of this wall. Just to be clear, journalists, it seems to have escaped your attention, your goldfish attention span of you regime media folks, that you're on the wrong side of the wall. And that if you wanted there to be not such a harsh dividing line, you would have to actually do your job. And by the way, see here, like here's a journalist on CNN saying, wow, U.S. home prices see new record highs in May. Of course, a lot of journalists can't afford these new home prices. You know what? Because unless they're earning way more than average, they're not going to be able to afford them as much as anybody else. This is an absolute thing that because they support, then the regime media are supporting the powerful and running interference for them and basically taking dumps on the powerless, which includes themselves. But they think they're a little bit closer to the wall, a little bit closer to the nirvana of being real close to the rich folks. I mean, come on. We're all hurt by stenography for the powerful, which is all journalism has become, because here you see house payment to median income ratios over 40% at present. And that's worse than it was at the height of the housing bubble back in 2006-07. Right? This is an astonishing thing. This is terrible. That thing that happened right there. See all that? That big spiky line that goes up right there at the end? That's something that happened because the press was not asking the right questions of the right people. And of course, they just let this stuff go sliding by, right? Not only has regime media allowed this crap to happen, which was basically a coup, it's basically sedition at this point, and treason. Not only did they allow this to happen, but they still have these same people that you can see, these same faces, are on their TV programs professing to be authorities about something. All these people are authorities on is how to have Washington, D.C. continue to harvest blood and treasure from the citizens. We might as well be farm animals at this point in time for these people in this thing. That's what journalists should be doing. And for them to suddenly come out and have all this mock like concern, like, oh my God, we didn't notice that Biden was so gone. Right? Come on, just stop. That's just stupid. By the way, media, I don't need to know crap like this. I don't need fluff pieces where you basically sidle on up and say, hey, here's where the world's top 0.001% are putting their money, according to wealth experts. Sidle right on up there, CNBC. Tell us all about that. No, you know what I want to know? I want to know why, since COVID, the top 0.1%, their net worth has gone up by $9 trillion over the last 4 years, and the bottom 50% are still struggling to just collectively get to $4 trillion, right? This is what we need to know. This is what we need to know about, and you aren't asking these questions. Just like you weren't asking questions about Biden. You're not doing anything important. Everybody in media, this is your moment to look in the mirror and ask yourself, Hans, are we the baddies? Right? Am I the baddie? Yes. If you're not reporting about the things that need to be reported on, if you are not taking truth to power, what are you doing? You're a loser, complete loser. So this is on your hands, regime media, right? Explosive study once removed by Lancet within 24 hours, now peer-reviewed and public, reveals 74% of deaths directly linked to the COVID-19 thing. That thing, which shall not be named, because I might have to put this up on one of the regime media apparatus platforms, which is still a little sensitive about these things because they hate the truth just as much as they hate you and me. This is what the media should have been reporting on. Instead, regime media decided to advocate for killing the unclean. Remember? It's a little suspiciously sounds like brown shirts. Sounds like the gleeful camp guards, right? Remember vermin? It's the unclean. Well, that's what they did. Toronto Star here saying that unvaccinated, let them die. Right on the head, right on the front page. Front page, 32-point font or whatever that is, 48. Unvaccinated patients do not deserve ICU beds, you know. Oh, we're just reporting what some people are saying. Yeah, you made the editorial decision to put it up front and completely failed to show or follow the actual data, which you see here. Peter McCullough, again, doing awesome work, saying our new study found a 1,236% increase in excess deaths after the COVID-19 program began there in King County, Washington. What? That's unbelievably, horrifyingly bad. This is the kind of stuff the media should have been reporting on. And now they're all out there. Oh, what a shock. We're all shocked. We don't know how this could have snuck up on us like this. Yeah, I can tell you. It's because not all of you are that stupid. I know this. So I'm speaking to anybody out there who is a journalist. Get off your duff, do your job right away, or quit. How can you morally, how can you live with yourself knowing that you're there just running lies and interference for these people, right? These people, that red line, that's not you. By definition, 0.1%, that is not you, journalists, and you are running interference for the people who are robbing this country blind. Stealing, this is theft. There's not a chance in the world the top 0.1% added $9 trillion of value to the overall equation. This is a looting operation, and your job is to point it out. And by the way, why do I get hot under the collar about this? Because it's just as stupid as pretending like we didn't notice that Biden's decline was in front of our faces. This is destroying the country. This is a looting operation. And more people, you heard it here first, more people are going to die from lives of quiet despair. More babies are not going to be born to domestic citizens because their economy is absolutely failing them. And it's failing them because the powerful elite are busy lining their own pockets. They don't know the word enough. Enough is the gateway word to happiness. They don't know enough. 9 trillion, not enough. They would rather it was 90 trillion. In fact, they're pissed off that the bottom 50% still have 4 trillion to their name. That's the world we live in. That's not the world I want to live in. But that's the world you're creating as journalists. That is on you, and you gotta wake up and fly right with this. But just words escape me. You're just killing. You're hurting yourselves. You're hurting your own children, born or unborn. You're hurting the future. How can you do this? I don't understand how people can lack just some fundamental level of decency and integrity. But the people who aren't reporting on this are those people. And you know who you are if you're listening to this. So with that, remember, I don't really do left-right. I do this up-down thing. Left-right, listen, as hammery as I can be on the Democrats for all the stupid stuff they're doing, don't even get me started on Adam Kinzinger and Dan Crenshaw and old turtle head, the senator. All that's, no. Obviously, we have a uniparty. There's really no distinction between these two. Both parties here are involved in this looting operation. Both parties, surprisingly, you see these congressmen and senators who get these modest salaries for the job walking away with tens of millions of dollars after just a few years. Like, the whole thing's obviously corrupt. That's what's being exposed here. It's a corrupt system, and the only way we can get past a corrupt system is if the media does its job, is the fourth estate. And as if the third estate, the judiciary, does its job. The Supreme Court just whiffed badly on things that could help return some semblance of balance of power to we the people. Just did a horrifying job on free speech and other things like that. So our third estate, fourth estate failing us, and of course the executive branch failing us, legislative branch failing us. That's why I don't really do the whole left-right thing. That's a distinction without a difference, and it's just totally irrelevant. Okay, so my conclusions for today are this one. First, there is a machine running across the media, permanent government, and elected party member apparatus, right? That machine is dangerously misguided. It is leading us in a very, very bad direction. Second, if we do not correct the trajectory that we're on, we all end up in the poorhouse. This is going to be bad, folks, and I don't see anything changing the trajectory right now, but we have to start with honest conversations. We got to get past all the lies and the pretendings and not noticing that the emperor is naked. We got to get past all that as soon as possible. Get back down to ground truth. That begins with this right here. Give us the data. Can we have a database conversation finally? Don't make me bust this out again. I want to have a database conversation. Can we just talk about the excess deaths? Can we just talk about how unhealthy our children are and the actual reasons for that? Can we just put the data on the table, finally talk about that, and then ask the follow-on question? What kind of people, what kind of society, what kind of culture harms its own children just so it can make a couple extra bucks off the deal? Not a healthy one. Right? Okay. Next, this is especially true, right? All you losers in the media. I'm talking to you. You needed a stern talking to here. You're going along with this charade. Nobody's going to have self-interest. Can I appeal to your self-interest? Nobody's going to pay you to scribe out worthless propaganda, right? We can get AI to do that for free now. Your job, such as it is to actually ask questions, is to have that thing where you ask an uncomfortable question at an uncomfortable moment. You have to be brave enough to get the question to come out. And then you have to ask a follow-up question. And you have to keep digging, and you have to put the people on notice who just think they can skate by with everything. We need accountability back in this story, and we're counting on you, media, to do that job. It's kind of like saying, well, we were counting on the police to, save us, but they don't do that anymore. So I was counting on the pilot to know which airport we were going to. It's not part of they don't consider that part of their job anymore. Come on. It's your job, folks. Finally, Biden is out, of course. He's gone, but the DNC knew this was the case more than a year ago, at least, and they've gamed this. That's what I'm going to be talking about in part 2 of this. They've gamed this moment so they can handpick the next candidate for people to vote for. Oh, look, you get to vote for this person who we handpicked. Ta-da! Right? That's Stalin-esque. Can we just be honest about this at this point? That is not democracy, huh? Right? That's not in accordance with American values. It has nothing to do with, we care about the people. This is a looting operation. Remember, the last official act of any government is to loot the treasury. So we're going to go on from here. One more. Yeah. What these people call our democracy, anything but, right? It's a system designed to work for the people, right? It's designed to flood wealth to the 0.1% class. Everything else is a distraction, okay? Now we got to talk about this. Welcome to the quickening. I'm advising my followers back at Peak Prosperity, my subscribers, you got to get ready. This is going to get really contentious and disruptive going forward. And that's if and only if it doesn't end in a war. That's a square wave function to something a lot worse. We have to talk about this and how anything we can do to help you get ready and prepared. With that, thank you very much for listening, everybody. We'll be back with you next time. Remember, if you want to come and subscribe at Peak Prosperity, we would love to have you there. We're a very welcoming crew. We've had a lot of new people coming in, leaving their first comments and getting a lot of love from the audience there, because that's how we roll. If you bring the goods, you bring your intelligence, bring your quick wit, your memes, we will love you at Peak Prosperity. With that, thanks for listening. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.